Mark, we got pointy little claws. uh, yes, another day. Tired. Let's get back into it though.
Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. When the son of David was king in Jerusalem, he was known to be very wise. And he said,
"Nothing makes sense. Everything is nonsense. I have seen it all. Nothing makes sense. What is there to show for all of our hard work here on this earth? People come and people go, but still the world never changes. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. It hurries right back to where it started from. The wind blows south, the wind blows north. Round and round it blows over and over again. All rivers empty into the sea, but it never spills over. One by one, the rivers return to their source. All of life is far more boring than words could ever say. Our eyes and our ears are never satisfied with what we see and hear. Everything that happens has happened before. Nothing is new. Nothing under the sun. Someone might say, here is something new, but it happened before, long before we were born. No one who lived in the past is remembered anymore, and everyone yet to be born will be forgotten too. I said these things when I lived in Jerusalem as king of Israel. With all my wisdom, I try to understand everything that happens here on earth. And God has made this so hard for us humans to do. I have seen it all, and everything is just as senseless as chasing the wind. If something is crooked, it can't be made straight. If something isn't there, it can't be counted. I said to myself, you are by far the wisest person who has ever lived in Jerusalem. You are eager to learn, and you have learned a lot. Then I decided to find out all I could about wisdom and foolishness. Soon I realized that this too was as senseless as chasing the wind. The more you know, the more you hurt. The more you understand, the more you suffer.
Ecclesiastes chapter 2.
I said to myself, have fun and enjoy yourself. But this didn't make sense. Laughing and having fun is crazy. What good does it do? I wanted to find out what was best for us during the short time we have on this earth. So I decided to make myself happy with wine and find out what it means to be foolish without really being foolish myself. I did some great things. I built houses and planted vineyards. I had flower gardens and orchards full of fruit trees, and I had pools where I could get water for the trees. I owned slaves, and their sons and daughters became my slaves. I had more sheep and goats than anyone who had ever lived in Jerusalem. Foreign rulers brought me silver, gold, and precious treasures. Men and women sang for me, and I had many wives who gave me great pleasure. I was the most famous person who had ever lived in Jerusalem, and I was very wise. I got whatever I wanted and did whatever made me happy. But most of all, I enjoyed my work. And I thought about everything I'd done, including the hard work. and it was simply chasing the wind. Nothing on earth is worth the trouble. I asked myself, what can the next king do that I haven't done? Then I decided to compare wisdom with foolishness and stupidity. And I discovered that wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. Wisdom is like having two good eyes. Foolishness leaves you in the dark. But wise or foolish, we all end up the same. Finally, I said to myself, being wise got me nowhere. The same thing will happen to me that happens to fools. Nothing makes sense. Wise or foolish, we all die and are soon forgotten. This made me hate life. Everything we do is painful. It's just as senseless as chasing the wind. Suddenly, I realized that others would someday get everything I had worked for so hard. Then I started hating it all. Who knows if those people will be sensible or stupid? Either way, they will own everything I have earned by hard work and wisdom. It doesn't make sense. I thought about all my hard work and I felt depressed. When we use our wisdom, knowledge, and skill to get what we own, why do we have to leave it to someone who didn't work for it? This is senseless and wrong. What do we really gain from all of our hard work? Our bodies ache during the day and work is torture. Then at night, our thoughts are troubled. It just doesn't make sense. The best thing we can do is to enjoy eating, drinking, and working. I believe these are God's gifts to us, and no one enjoys eating and living more than I do. If we please God, He will make us wise, understanding, and happy. But if we sin, God will make us struggle for a living. Then He
That I
will give all
disagree
we
with, but who
own to
cares?
someone who pleases Him.
Rest of it is based.
This makes no more sense than chasing the wind.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3.
Everything on earth has its own time and its own season. There is a time for birth and death, planting and reaping, for killing and healing, destroying and building, for crying and laughing, weeping and dancing, for throwing stones and gathering stones, embracing and parting. There is a time for finding and for tearing and sowing.
The fuck is this lagging for?
There is also a time for love and hate, for war and peace. What do we gain by all of our hard work? I have seen what difficult things God demands of us. God makes everything happen at the right time. Yet none of us can ever fully understand all He has done, and He puts questions in our minds about the past and the future. I know the best thing we can do is to always enjoy life, because God's gift to us is the happiness we get from our food and drink, and from the work we do. Everything God has done will last forever. Nothing He does can ever be changed. God has done all this so that we will worship Him. Everything that happens has happened before, and all that will be has already been. God does everything over and over again. Everywhere on earth, I saw violence and injustice instead of fairness and justice. So I told myself that God has set a time and a place for everything. He will judge everyone, both the wicked and the good. I know that God is testing us to show us that we are merely animals. Like animals, we breathe and die, and we are no better off than they are. It just doesn't make sense. All living creatures go to the same place. We are made from earth, and we return to the earth. Who really knows if our spirits go up and the spirits of the animals go down into the earth? We were meant to enjoy our work, and that's the best thing we can do. But we can never know the future.
Ecclesiastes chapter 4.
I looked again and saw people being mistreated everywhere on earth. They were crying, but no one was there to offer comfort. and those who mistreated them were powerful. I said to myself, the dead are better off than the living. But those who have never been born are better off, never seen the terrible things that happen on this earth. Then I realized that we work and do wonderful things just because we are jealous of others. This makes no more sense than chasing the wind. Fools will fold their hands and starve to death. Yet a very little food eaten in peace is better than twice as much earned from overwork and chasing the wind. Once again, I saw that nothing on earth makes sense. For example, some people don't have friends or family, but they are never satisfied with what they own, and they never stop working to get more. They should ask themselves, why am I always working to have more? Who will get what I leave behind? What a senseless and miserable life. You are better off to have a friend than to be all alone, because then you will get more enjoyment out of what you earn. If you fall, your friend can help you up. But if you fall without having a friend nearby, you are really in trouble. If you sleep alone, you won't have anyone to keep you warm on a cold night. Someone might be able to beat up one of you, but not both of you. As the saying goes, a rope made from 3 strands of cord is hard to break. You may be poor and young, but if you are wise, you are better off than a foolish old king who won't listen to advice. Even if you were not born into the royal family and have been a prisoner and poor, you can still be king. I once saw everyone in the world follow a young leader who came to power after the king was gone. His followers could not even be counted, but years from now, no one will praise him. This makes no more sense than chasing the wind.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5.
Be careful what you do when you enter the house of God. Some fools go there to offer sacrifices, even though they haven't sinned. But it's best just to listen when you go to worship. Don't talk before you think, or make promises to God without thinking them through. God is in heaven, and you are on earth, so don't talk too much. If you keep thinking about something, you will dream about it. If you talk too much, you will say the wrong thing. God doesn't like fools, so don't be slow to keep your promises to God. It's better not to make a promise at all than to make one and not keep it. Don't let your mouth get you in trouble. And don't say to the worship leader, I didn't mean what I said. God can destroy everything you have worked for, so don't say something that makes God angry. Respect and obey God. Daydreaming leads to a lot of senseless talk. Don't be surprised if the poor of your country are abused, and injustice takes the place of justice. After all, the lower officials must do what the higher ones order them to do. And since the king is the highest official, he benefits most from the taxes paid on the land. If you love money and wealth, you will never be satisfied with what you have. This doesn't make sense either. The more you have, the more everyone expects from you. Your money won't do you any good. Others will just spend it for you. If you have to work hard for a living, you can rest well at night, even if you don't have much to eat. But if you are rich, you can't even sleep. I have seen something terribly unfair. People get rich, but it does them no good. Suddenly, they lose everything in a bad business deal, then have nothing to leave for their children. They came into this world naked, and when they die, they will be just as naked. They can't take anything with them, and they won't have anything to show for all their work. That's terribly unfair. They leave the world just as they came into it. They gained nothing from running after the wind. Besides all this, they are always gloomy at mealtime, and they are troubled, sick, and bitter. What is the best thing to do in the short life that God has given us? I think we should enjoy eating, drinking, and working hard. This is what God intends for us to do. Suppose you are very rich and able to enjoy everything you own. Then go ahead and enjoy working hard. This is God's gift to you. God will keep you so happy that you won't have time to worry about each day.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6.
There is something else terribly unfair, and it troubles everyone on earth. God may give you everything you want, money, property, and wealth. Then God doesn't let you enjoy it, and someone you don't even know gets it all. That's senseless and terribly unfair. You may live a long time and have 100 children, but a child born dead is better off than you, unless you enjoy life and have a decent burial. That child will never live to see the sun or have a name, and it will go straight to the world of darkness, but it will still find more rest than you, even if you live 2,000 years and don't enjoy life. As you know, we all end up in the same place. We struggle just to have enough to eat, but we are never satisfied. We may be sensible, yet we are no better off than a fool. And if we are poor, it still doesn't do us any good to try to live right. It's better to enjoy what we have than to always want something else, because that makes no more sense than chasing the wind. Everything that happens was decided long ago. We humans know what we are like, and we can't argue with God because He is too strong for us. The more we talk, the less sense we make. So what good does it do to talk? Life is short and meaningless, and it fades away like a shadow. Who knows what is best for us? Who knows what will happen after we are gone?
Ecclesiastes chapter 7.
A good reputation at the time of death is better than loving care at the time of birth. It's better to go to a funeral than to attend a feast. Funerals remind us that we all must die. Choose sorrow over laughter, because a sad face may hide a happy heart. A sensible person mourns, but fools always laugh. Harsh correction is better than the songs of a fool. Foolish laughter is stupid. It sounds like thorns crackling in a fire. Corruption makes fools of sensible people, and bribes can ruin you. Something completed is better than something just begun. Patience is better than too much pride. Only fools get angry quickly and hold a grudge. It isn't wise to ask, why is everything worse than it used to be? Having wisdom is better than an inheritance. Wisdom will protect you just like money. Knowledge with good sense will lead you to life. Think of what God has done. If God makes something crooked, can you make it straight? When times are good, you should be cheerful. When times are bad, think what it means. God makes them both to keep us from knowing what will happen next. I have seen everything during this senseless life of mine. I have seen good citizens die for doing the right thing, and I have seen criminals live to a ripe old age. So don't destroy yourself by being too good or acting too smart. Don't die before your time by being too evil or acting like a fool. Keep to the middle of the road. You can do this if you truly respect God. Wisdom will make you stronger than the 10 most powerful leaders in your city. No one in this world always does right. Don't listen to everything that everyone says, or you might hear your servant cursing you. Haven't you cursed many others? I told myself that I would be smart and try to understand all
Howdy,
of this,
Dave.
but it was
We are
too much
listening
for
to
me.
Ecclesiastes,
The truth is beyond us. It's
the most
far too
base
deep.
chapter of the
So I
Bible.
decided to learn everything I could and become wise enough to discover what life is all about. At the same time, I wanted to understand why it's stupid and senseless to be an evil fool. Here is what I discovered. A bad woman is worse than death. She is a trap, reaching out with body and soul to catch you. But if you obey God, you can escape. If you don't obey, you are done for. With all my wisdom, I have tried to find out how everything fits together, but so far I have not been able to. I do know there is one good man in 1,000, but never have I found a good woman. I
Damn.
did learn one thing.
Rip.
We were
Don't know if
completely
that's space,
honest when
but
God created us, but now we have twisted minds.
I bet good
Ecclesiastes
woman.
chapter 8.
Just some anti-hating
Who is
woman.
smart enough to explain everything? Wisdom makes you cheerful and gives you a smile. If you promised God that you would be loyal to the king, I advise you to keep that promise. Don't quickly oppose the king or argue when he has already made up his mind. The king's word is law. No one can ask him, "Why are you doing this?" If you obey the king, you will stay out of trouble. So be smart and learn what to do and when to do it. Life is hard, but there is a time and a place for everything, though no one can tell the future. We cannot control the wind or determine the day of our death. There is no escape in time of war, and no one can hide behind evil. I noticed all this and thought seriously about what goes on in the world. Why does one person have the power to hurt another? I saw the wicked buried with honor, but God's people had to leave the holy city and were forgotten. None of this makes sense. When we see criminals commit crime after crime without being punished, it makes us want to start a life of crime. They commit hundreds of crimes and live to a ripe old age, in spite of the saying, "Everyone who lives right and respects God will prosper, but no one who sins and rejects God will prosper or live very long." There is something else that doesn't make sense to me. Good citizens are treated as criminals, while criminals are honored as though they were good citizens. So I think we should get as much out of life as we possibly can. There is nothing better than to enjoy our food and drink and to have a good time. Then we can make it through this troublesome life that God has given us here on earth. Day and night I went without sleep, trying to understand what goes on in this world. I saw everything God does, and I realized that no one can really understand what happens. We may be very wise, but no matter how much we try or how much we claim to know, we cannot understand it all.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9.
I thought about these things. Then I understood that God has power over everyone, even those of us who are wise and live right. Anything can happen to any of us, and so we never know if life will be good or bad. But exactly the same thing will finally happen to all of us, whether we live right and respect God, or sin and don't respect God. Yes, the same thing will happen if we offer sacrifices to God or if we don't, if we keep our promises or break them. It's terribly unfair for the same thing to happen to each of us. We are mean and foolish while we live, and then we die. As long as we are alive, we still have hope, just as a live dog is better off than a dead lion. We know that we will die, but the dead don't know a thing. Nothing good will happen to them. They are gone and forgotten. Their loves, their hates, and their jealous feelings have all disappeared with them. They will never again take part in anything that happens on this earth. Be happy and enjoy eating and drinking. God decided long ago that this is what you should do. Dress up, comb your hair, and look your best. Life is short, and you love your wife, so enjoy being with her. This is what you are supposed to do as you struggle through life on this earth. Work hard at whatever you do. You will soon go to the world of the dead, where no one works or thinks or reasons or knows anything. Here is something else I have learned. The fastest runners and the greatest heroes don't always win races and battles. Wisdom, intelligence, and skill don't always make you healthy, rich, or popular. We each have our share of bad luck. None of us know when we might fall victim to a sudden disaster and find ourselves like fish in a net or birds in a trap. Once I saw what people really think of wisdom. It happened when a powerful ruler surrounded and attacked a small city where only a few people lived. The enemy army was getting ready to break through the city walls, but the city was saved by the wisdom of a poor person who was soon forgotten. So I decided that wisdom is better than strength. Yet if you are poor, no one pays any attention to you, no matter how smart you are. Words of wisdom spoken softly make much more sense than the shouts of a ruler to a crowd of fools. Wisdom is more powerful than weapons, yet one mistake can destroy all the good you have done.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10.
A few dead flies in perfume make all of it stink, and a little foolishness outweighs a lot of wisdom. Sensible thoughts lead you to do right. Foolish thoughts lead you to do wrong. Fools show their stupidity by the way they live. It's easy to see they have no sense. Don't give up your job when your boss gets angry. If you stay calm, you'll be forgiven. Some things rulers do are terribly unfair. They honor fools, but dishonor the rich. They let slaves ride on horses, but force slave owners to walk. If you dig a pit, you might fall in. If you break down a wall, a snake might bite you. You could even get hurt by chiseling a stone or chopping a log. If you don't sharpen your axe, it will be harder to use. If you are smart, you'll know what to do. The power to charm a snake does you no good if it bites you anyway. If you talk sensibly, you will have friends. If you talk foolishly, you will destroy yourself. Fools begin with nonsense, and their stupid chatter ends with disaster. They never tire of talking, but none of us really know what the future will bring. Fools wear themselves out. They don't know enough to find their way home. A country is in for trouble when its ruler is childish and its leaders party all day long. But a nation will prosper when its ruler is mature and its leaders don't party too much. Some people are too lazy to fix a leaky roof. Then the house falls in. Eating and drinking make you feel happy, and bribes can buy everything you need. Don't even think about cursing the king. Don't curse the rich, not even in secret. A little bird might hear and tell everything.
Ecclesiastes chapter 11.
Be generous, and someday you will be
But the
rewarded.
rich
Share
should
what you
never
have
die.
with 7 or 8 others, because you never know when disaster may strike. Rain clouds always bring rain. Trees always stay wherever they fall. If you worry about the weather and don't plant seeds, you won't harvest a crop. No one can explain how a baby breathes before it is born. So how can anyone explain what God does? After all, He created everything.
I'm pretty sure you can nowadays,
Plant your
but you
seeds
know.
early in the morning and keep working in the field until dark. Who knows? Your work might pay off, and your seeds might produce. Nothing on earth is more beautiful than the morning sun. Even if you live to a ripe old age, you should try to enjoy each day, because darkness will come and will last a long time. Nothing makes sense. Be cheerful and enjoy life while you are young. Do what you want and find pleasure in what you see. But don't forget that God will judge you for everything you do. Rid yourself of all worry and pain, because the wonderful moments of youth quickly disappear.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12.
Keep your Creator in mind while you are young. In years to come, you will be burdened down with troubles and say, I don't enjoy life anymore. Someday the light of the sun and the moon and the stars will all seem dim to you. Rain clouds will remain over your head. Your body will grow feeble, your teeth will decay, and your eyesight fail. The noisy grinding of grain will be shut out by your deaf ears, but even the song of a bird will keep you awake. You will be afraid to climb up a hill or walk down a road. Your hair will turn as white as almond blossoms. You will feel lifeless and drag along like an old grasshopper. We each go to our eternal home, and the streets are filled with those who mourn. The silver cord snaps. The golden bowl breaks, the water pitcher is smashed, and the pulley at the well is shattered. So our bodies return to the earth, and the life-giving breath returns to God. Nothing makes sense. I have seen it all. Nothing makes sense. I was a wise teacher with much understanding, and I collected a number of proverbs that I had carefully studied. Then I tried to explain these things in the best and most accurate way. Words of wisdom are like the stick a farmer uses to make animals move. These sayings come from God, our only shepherd, and they are like nails that fasten things together. My child, I warn you to stay away from any teachings except these. There is no end to books, and too much study will wear you out. Everything you were taught can be put into a few words. Respect and obey God. This is what life is all about. God will judge
That I
everything we
disagree
do,
on.
even what is done in secret,
But the rest of
whether good
Ecclesiastes is based
or
as
bad.
fuck. Just everything's meaningless. Besides obeying God, that's the point. The point is that you have to basically obey God to find meaning, because everything on earth is meaningless. That's kind of the point of Ecclesiastes, is that it's basically saying life is pointless. See, I don't believe in God, but we can get into that if you want to. But I like Ecclesiastes because it basically just kind of shits all over the nature of living. Everything kind of covers knowledge, it covers family, it covers hope, it covers work, everything basically you can think of. And it's just like, yeah, fuck all that. Useless as shit. None of it, all vanity. No, big chill. And since some amend him, see if he has any things on Ecclesiastes. I wonder if he does.
Like trivial. It just makes so obvious how unimpressive these characters are that essentially define our laws and define them so badly that we don't really even have a constitution anymore. Which is, most people don't realize it, but the Constitution doesn't mean anything if judges won't protect your rights. You don't really have
Kind
any.
of fact.
You can think you have them, but you really don't. Because when you need them, they won't be there. Trust me, I know. Anyway, so that was sort of interesting. Boring, but interesting. Not boring, but it was always boring. But it was so cliche. A black judge appointed by Obama, the white judge appointed by Hitler. I mean, the politics was so obvious. It was just, it's like watching politicians kissing babies. Just reeks of insincerity and bullshit. Ugh, what people vote for. Anyway, so just throwing that in there. Somebody linked to it, so I just thought I'd point out because I did see it and it was kind of sickening to see Hitler. Anyway, pretending to be such a nice little nerdy putz, and he's such an obnoxiously rude cunt. It's just kind of funny in real life. Arrogant asshole. Anyway, who I got thrown off a case. Just reminding you. I got a federal appeals court to kick him off the case because he's an asshole. We didn't point that out. Fox News didn't bother with that fact. Anyway, so Astronaut was made a live room, so that was weird. Flash from the past kind of thing. It's happening lately. These people from the past are showing up. I was thinking it would be really cool if Rabbit Ape showed up again because he's supposed to be a physicist now. I mean, he should be. It's more than 4 years, I think, so he should have sort of got a degree or something. I don't know. Anyway, or maybe that just didn't. I don't know. Who knows what he's doing? But that would be interesting. But anyway, just thinking of people from the past that just disappeared. Gone. So anyway, Astronaut. The weird thing was, he seemed younger than he was when he was on YouTube. Partly, I guess, because he dressed a little more sophisticated. He wore white shirts, played all that kind of I'm a sophisticated philosopher kind of game, and now he looks kind of street. Cork in the ears, still got the hoop in the nose, and beardy kind of thingy, and tattoos and whatever, and I don't know. But he just seemed kind of less of a man to me. I mean, younger, but younger almost in a negative way, like more juvenile. Hmm. But there's a lot of that going around, so not hugely surprising. But it was nice seeing him. I mean, it's just a nice little bit of nostalgia. Uh, but yeah, he's just doing a live room thing, chatting with texters and stuff, and like he cares or something. It was just, yeah. Sorry, I don't get that shit. No, don't get it.
Because
So,
Mendham
the
allows you
Kenny Baker
to
guy,
talk
the
people in a
whatever he
whim,
is, the angry
answer
photographer,
questions,
fat and angry, I guess you should say. But anyway,
explain
I got this new
concepts that
camera,
you
this
think of
Fuji
when they pop
thingy
in your
for whatever
brain.
$16,000 camera, and he just tells stories, and I just wanted to point out it just tells stories because he basically says, "Oh, I sold some of my other cameras, his extra cameras. He always has 15 of everything." Um, but I was thinking about it, and I'm saying, nah, if you really sold some shit. And you have a YouTube account that gets, pretty good views, 2, 3,000, 4,000 views per video. I'm pretty sure if you really wanted to make money, you'd sell it on eBay and announce the sale on your channel. Because you might get an extra $1,000 on the sell price for sure, no problem. So I'm just not his whole story about being a poor man that every month forks over 15 grand to buy shit. I mean, it just like seems like every month he spends like $15,000. Yeah, and he claims to be, oh no, on a budget. Fuck you. Anyway, I don't know how he gets away with that shit. Piro. So Piro made one video that was really don't really understand his what he's thinking. So it's about this whole video site thing, and so he's going to stream his videos not on YouTube, stream them, and then save them on a private server. And I've done this in the past. I've posted videos on my website, and usually it's because I can't post them on YouTube, or YouTube's been so obnoxious in terms of censorship and abuse of my rights that I found it necessary to protest. And I'd like to be able to post videos, frankly, off of YouTube, but you can't because no one pays any attention. And the index, there's no Google doesn't index anything. You can't find things on the internet using Google. I mean, the real stuff. Um, the stuff that isn't part of the marketing industry. So, yeah, I just don't see that. What's the point? Of a Piro video being on some other site. It's just kind of hard to figure out what exactly his point is because he's not exactly Mr. Controversial. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay. I don't think it'll work because it didn't work for me, so I don't know how it's going to work for you. But anyway, so then there was two videos that are sort of related: Snake Plisskeness and Amazing Atheist. Amazing Atheist,
The
somebody did go
amazing
into his
atheist.
stories of my father. Was I abused? So his father means really his father and his stepfather. So he had the benefit of two fun little daddies. And he's sincerely asking some question. He wants the viewers to be his therapist. Be my therapist. Tell me what you think. And it's just kind of bizarre. And then Snake Plisskenus lives the real life of of going just totally, crash and burn, and the recovery Phoenix part, rebuilding yourself from nothing, from nothing. All right, maybe he still had an iPhone or whatever, but I mean, from almost nothing. And I have to admire the perseverance that, I mean, I'm obviously much older, and it's just, I couldn't find the energy to have to, inch your way back up, to the shit level. I mean, just the shit level, to fight for shit, a tiny bit of human dignity. Um, Man, yeah, I just don't think I would, you know, I lose a few too many of my wrenches, even though I hate working on cars. If I lost all my wrenches or something, I can't go on. Even though I don't use them, I don't want to use them. I don't even like working on cars anymore. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. But it's something I couldn't live without. If you took it away from me, I just feel wrong. Um, and you know, to start over like that, edges and admirable. Um, you know, and see, the fake Sagan video fits into this. Well, Christopher, whatever, Watkins or something. Um, Anderson, Mr. Anderson,
Mr. Ray.
um, made a video that was just hilarious because he was, basically said, I've had enough, no mas.
No
He's
fucking loss.
conceding that life is just, oh yeah, I get it. It's really just this cycle of bullshit, this
Yeah,
cycle
it
of,
takes some horse shit to be tossed your way,
yeah,
doesn't it?
just getting your head bobbled, knocked one way and then knocked the other way, and you just keep, you know, bobbling along. Um, that it isn't really going anywhere. It's just a bunch of chase, and yeah, it doesn't add up to anything in the end. Um, and it's just this. He doesn't say this, but it's just this grisly little squirrel that runs inside of you, saying they're doing some kind of little engine that could bullshit that just keeps you here. Um, but yeah, and so he's converted into some kind of desperate, this whole religion thing. It's like somehow this is going to be this is the way out. This is the doorway out where you get to walk out with your boots on or something, your dignity or something. I don't see that at all. Um, to me, it's you just you pooped your pants in the war trench. When you go, would you turn to God? That's you just pooped your pants. You're not going to look good. No dignity, and that desperate opiate of artificial hope that there's some reclamation possible, and that you can leave like a virgin or something. Whatever, no hope. So anyway, so I'm mixing these three characters because they're similar characters in a sense. All a bit too nihilist for my taste. Um, and uh, yeah, but yeah, the Amazing Atheist one is the one. Obviously, you go into a whole bunch of things where TJ's supposed to be a smart guy, and I think he is sort of a smart guy, but he sure should see that he obviously has acquired some negative personality traits from these negative personality traits of his fathers. These negative role models didn't exactly instill in him some sort of embarrassment capacity when it comes to ethical crimes, or character defects, or however you want to describe those, um, in a lot of simple ways. Um, but TJ is a weird one, right? Because there's some subjects he seems incredibly sensitive. Like you just can't imagine how hysterically sensitive he seems on certain issues. Um, like maybe the tranny thingy a little in the gender confusion kind of subjects, because I guess he's in that category. And yet he'll talk about rape and tell rape victims to get over it. Like there's no real trauma involved, with this idea of you basically having your innocence bludgeoned and your sexual identity perverted, um, in kind of a rude way. And all of that stuff does do damage, I think. It's like two women, three cups, or whatever the fuck it was. That'll hurt you. You don't want to watch that kind of shit, because you watch enough of that kind of shit. Shit. Well, pudding, whatever. Um, shit like food. Um, it'll do shit to you, in my opinion. And just like your fathers do things like that to you. Well, anyway, so he's saying is this abuse and blah 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 blah. And I think anytime you're being manipulated by an authority figure, that's sort of the definition of a kind of abuse. So anytime an authority figure, somebody who's supposed to understand that children are impressionable and fragile, is playing them for some purpose, satisfying their own needs through them, or doing any of that kind of crap, it's always going to be some kind of abuse, because they're supposed to be the ones who understand how delicate the psychology of a kid is, and so they should know better. Um, but it is a funny line to, once you have to establish that they had some knowledge, they were capable of understanding that the role they were in and the responsibility they had. So it gets a little bit. You can always have arguments about this stuff. I had some argument with somebody because as much as I hate cops, right? So and so the cop in New York, drunk driving, they killed a couple of
The
people,
cops, man.
stripper bar, the typical bullshit from cops. And so the guy's got, he finally got caught. Well, he got caught, and he got, they nailed him. When he went to trial, and he lost, and so he faces 20 years. So he said something. Well, he faces only 20 years. I'm saying, yeah, but it's the same crime. I mean, drunk driving is drunk driving. No drunk driver thinks I'm going to kill somebody tonight. So their intent is exactly the same. The intent of the drunk driver who doesn't kill somebody is exactly the same as the drunk driver who does. And all you're doing is rewarding somebody for luck. You're saying you were lucky, therefore you don't go to jail for 20 years. You just get 6 months of this and a couple of $1,000 in penalties. You know, and it's like the attempted murder versus murder thing. Why should the crimes be different? Why should you give a attempted murderer points off for failing to be for being incompetent? I mean, it's almost upside down, to give the failed murderer extra credit, so to speak, an A on
I
the
feel like it's the
test,
same with law versus
because
like
they couldn't even
crime.
accomplish their intent. But it's exactly the same crime, right? The intention is the crime is the intent. So fuck. But anyway, so I don't know where I'm going with that. Now that I've lost the whole. Well, I guess it's that knowledge thing. So you can't really, how big a crime somebody's abuse is really depends on how, if they have any kind of notions in their head about what their role here on planet Earth is, or any kind of idea that they influence the other people they fuck around with, or whether they, in some way, might even impact the future and the quality of life for the human species and all of that kind of crap. And so obviously TJ's father seemed kind of distant from that knowledge. And I would argue that an awful lot of that leaked into TJ, because he's always seemed quite capable of viewing the rest of the world as ants to be manipulated for his purposes. And now, later, he seems to be having some sort of, I wouldn't say it's a crisis of any kind. Maybe he's just using it to gain more fake sympathy. I mean, look, I'm a big giant fat man. Look, I have a small penis. Look, I have all these pervert. Look, so he paints this thing. He's like Howard Stern always used to talk about how small his penis was, even though he didn't have a small penis, but he just because it made him likable by losers, it didn't make him a threat. I'm ugly. I have a big nose. I'm this. I'm that. Blah, blah, blah. So all this bullshit, even though he knows, don't matter to a lot of chicks. Um, you know that, but you paint the picture like, oh, I'm a pathetic loser because that makes him less of a threat to the other males, and therefore they'll gravitate to that guy uh, because that's somebody that they don't feel threatened by. Where if you're brilliantly charming and eloquent and attractive, um, yeah, you're resented. It actually did happen in my youth. I mean, it really did. I mean, people just hated me for nothing, just because I just seemed like to them it seemed like, oh, it's too easy. He's too good at everything, and yeah, like I didn't earn it, and they really hated that shit. But anyway, that's all. So that was my psychological damage. Was living two lives. The first, the, most of my maturation, I was a dwarf. I was a runt, and then late, like still in my 20s, I was growing, and so by the time I was 21, I'm 6'1" and um, impressive to some people, and it wasn't a role I was ready to play because I was a loser and I didn't know how to play the new role. So anyway, that's all psychology. But anyway, so I want to just get to the abuse part because that's just a funny word to use because the abuse can come in such subtle ways. Like you could, it's not like you would ever be actually negative. Like somebody doesn't even have a negative intent, but it's just they don't feed you. They forget. Oh, I didn't know you needed to be fed. So it's almost like you can be abused by just the lack of feeding or the lack of sunlight or some. It's not so much that you're getting beaten; it's that you're getting a kind of starved, and that can be just as damaging um, in a way because there's nothing. You know, you can't keep fighting if you're if you're if you can't if you never get the bandage a wound and you just keep carrying them all as scars, you're just scar tissue. You need somebody once in a while to take it away, make you feel better. And if nothing ever does that, um, you're just you compound the negative psychology because the negatives are reinforced because you keep tripping over the liability of your previous emotional wounds. So you can never start new, like fake Sagan sort of attempting to do over in some simpler, um, you know, less. I don't know. I won't say passionate, but less interested. Less. It's simpler. That's just the way to say it. I mean, religion is just for people who want it simple. Just give me the simple instructions and there's some nice, pretty little stories, and okay.